Hello and welcome to Two Man Power Trip Pro Wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, former K1 champion. You may know him as the the knockout and walk-off king. He's of course a UFC and Pride legend. He is Mr. Marco Hunto. Mark Hunt, welcome to Two Man Power Trip. How you doing?
Hey, bro, Genki, how are you?
Good. I love the Hunto, like the tribute to Pride in Japan. There, I love that.
Sure.
What is going
That's it.
on in your world? What have you been up to?
Just the usual, just suing companies and just the usual stuff.
Are you boxing? It looks like you've been boxing lately.
No, I'm not boxing. I had a couple of boxing fights, and that's about it. So I actually got a win in one of the boxings, and lost the other one. So yeah, that was a while ago.
I think it was right last year you beat Sonny Williams, didn't you? I mean, that's a pretty big win, pretty accomplished boxer.
Hannibal, yeah, oh, he's actually a beginner to be honest, but yeah, um, yeah, it was a good match. Um, I had to lose weight for that fight, but yeah, I had fun doing it. It was good.
Is that something that you're more interested in doing, boxing and kind of retiring from MMA and kickboxing?
Well, I mean, I wanted to do more MMA, but I just got, I couldn't get a fight. I think I was blacklisted when I sued the UFC. Like I said, my passion was mixed martial arts. I wanted to get a world title in MMA, but it just didn't work out that way. Too many little shortcut taking cheaters. So what can you do?
What was the lawsuit about for UFC?
Well, it was about um, uh, well, I don't know. Do you want to get into that?
Sure,
I
go
don't
on. Yeah,
know. Yeah, I don't really want to explain it again. It's like everyone else. It's out there in Google if you want to search it up. So not really interested in going back over it again. It's been 7 years for one. The lawsuits, the other one's been 8 years. But you know,
part of the Kung Lee stuff.
well, that's the other side. My personal one is against steroids, and um, you know, and what I when I did ask the UFC Dana and them to put a clause in my contract for these steroid users to not get no money or nothing, all I got was a blank wall, and no was the answer. So that's all I asked for was a clause in my contract that they don't get no money at all. But he wouldn't do that. I faced a couple of them in my time. Man, I just got sick of it. Got sick of going through the same process and nothing being done about it. And the company didn't really care. They don't really care, and even to this day, they still don't care. So if you want things done, you got to go and do it your fucking self. You know.
Yep. So, are you technically retired from MMA because you haven't fought in a few years, more than a few years?
48 now. I mean, I'm not really fighting. I haven't had a fight in ages in MMA, and like I said, I couldn't get a fight because of probably the lawsuit that I put on. I was talking to a few people, different companies, but it just didn't pan out. That's all. Got a couple of good offers with the boxing, and that's it. I did the boxing, and then took another one of those bucket lists. Got a win in actual boxing, and then moved on. That's it.
So, are you kind of looking to retire and kind of head off into the sunset? Like you said, Super Samoan's 48 now, all of a sudden, crazily enough.
Yeah, I'm 48, and I'm not really doing well. Like I said, I wanted to achieve a title in MMA. I just couldn't quite get there with all these guys. Every time I faced a guy that cheated, it just didn't go my way. It just went and even when it did, it still didn't go my way because the fight got put to a no contest. It doesn't help me at all. Whether they, it just saves them. So yeah, nothing's been done about it at all. Never. It's kind of sad that nothing's ever done about this. And grubby companies like the UFC say, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it." Nah, I don't think so. Yeah,
You,
they even still promote grubby little cheaters like John Jones. It's ridiculous.
he's been caught
They talk.
more than a few times too. John Jones cheating.
Yeah, he's done a lot of dumb stuff and caught him using steroids and everything. But the funny thing is, people will say, "Oh, it's his past. Forget about the past." Well, what about the guys that he's cheated out of a position? What about their kids and that? What about that? In every other sport, they put these guys outside and get rid of them. So why is it MMA that they allow these guys to prosper and go forward? I said, he made a mistake a couple of maybe 10, 20 times. and let him ruin these other people's career and their lives and their families. And don't worry about them. Let's get this idiot in, so we can, put him in the Hall of Fame, because they talk about him being the greatest of all time. How is a cheater ever going to be the greatest of all time?
With a huge asterisk to me, because he's got caught 3 times. He was taking more
Yeah,
stuff than
how,
Overeem. He got
how are you going to ever have a guy that hides under the octagon, hiding
yeah.
away from USADA, be the greatest of all time? Imagine if a group of kids went to go see the greatest fighter of all time. They call him, as a school trip, and they said, "Oh, where's John Jones? Oh, there he is. Look, there goes the greatest of all time. He's hiding under the octagon, taking a shit."
That's a
Anyway,
bad story for him too. That's another mark against his legacy too. I mean, hiding from USADA, that's not a good thing.
his only legacy is the shortcut. Take a steroid using cheat. That's his only legacy. I don't know why people go, he's the greatest fighter this time. He could have done it without it. Then why didn't he?
That's true.
Why did he have to cheat and shortcut take and cut these people out of their positions? And then all these fighters that he did fight and beat them, those are the guys that should be upset about it all. Those are the guys that should be saying, man, that was my spot that this guy cheated me out of. And the grubby company allowed him to do it, let him do it. They probably even knew. Who knows? Wouldn't put it past these guys at UFC, man. They're all thieves.
When you look at it too, like the money bonus, the win bonus, you could have gotten if they hadn't cheated. You know what I mean? There's always that aspect to it too.
These guys are fighting over nickels and dimes. Where these guys that are taking advantage of them. These guys that are making the real money taking advantage of them. That's what's so sad about it. That's why they need the Ali Act in this. In the MMA right now, because this company is exploiting all these fighters, without a doubt, exploiting them.
Man, compared to what other athletes make, MMA is not making nearly as much money. Even by boxing standards, boxers get paid a lot better than MMA fighters.
Yeah, MMA is a joke. It's a joke, and the leader of the joke is UFC, because that title is worthless. It's worth no money. There's zero prestige, because they've got rodents like John Jones as the champion of the world. They knew that he was cheating. They allowed him to do it. They even moved the whole show for that. Remember that one time they moved the whole show to California because he couldn't get a license? It's ridiculous. This company doesn't change anything. It just continues to lock these fighters in contracts and make it worse for them. The problem is there's more fighters that are willing to sign these stupid contracts.
Big time. Look at Nagano though; he was able to, or want to walk away. He was the heavyweight champion technically, and he walked away. They weren't paying him enough, and obviously there were some other issues too.
He still is.
Well, he never lost. Yeah,
and that's what's the thing is, when someone speaks speaking the truth and what he wants, and in fairness, these guys try to give him more money. I mean, the money that he should have got, he said, "I will give you $8 million." You should have been giving that to him anyway. Should have been giving him more, part of that pay-per-view, instead of giving him $1 out of the pay-per-view. Where he should have been getting half of that pay-per-view. It's can I get a health insurance? I mean, what he's speaking up about is good. That's what the Ali Act is. What's the class action lawsuits about? Bringing in all this stuff to help these fighters, but then people it's like a revolving circle. They do it all the time, like with the UFC. Every time someone speaks out, they do the same thing. Posters, they go put them to the side. They get all their trolls and their fake accounts hammering these people. End of the day, they're just crooks.
Why
and they'll never be legit. The title is rubbish. There will never be a legit title, because when you've got the world champion of the title, a grubby cheat, how can the rest of them be in it? You know what I mean?
How is MMA able to do that? You know what I mean? Like pay scale, because we see how many people buy the pay-per-views. We see how popular UFC. How are they able to do that and pay the guys so little?
What's that? Who? The UFC?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because people don't really understand what's really going on. They think, oh, let's just watch these fights. They don't realize that these fighters are getting taken advantage of. They're not living these, a great lifestyle, because they're not making that much money. The only person to ever make money in their company is McGregor, or as a fighter. Mm-hmm. The owners made all the money and still make all the money. And that's people don't understand. They just think, oh, they just it's great to be a UFC fighter. No, they don't realize that you're getting taken advantage of and ripped off.
And if you look at it, McGregor's biggest purse came from boxing. So he went to boxing, fight Mayweather, and that's where his biggest purse came from. Despite him being MMA's biggest star, he made his most money in boxing, oddly enough. Crazy.
Yeah, because the Ali acts in boxing and they get half of that. Well, that's the thing, though. People don't realize that. They just said, but I think people are starting to realize that UFC, these mixed martial arts, especially if UFC is the leader, they're not making that much money at all. They're getting exploited.
Now, looking at you and your career, obviously, we say Super Samoan, the king of the walk-off KO. I mean, all this awesome stuff that's kind of associated with you and your career. When you started MMA, like, did you think that they kind of threw you to the wolves too early, so to speak, because you were so good in K1, because you were K1 champion? Because it's like, wow, they throw you in there. Your first fight is against Yoshida, who's a gold, not gold medalist, but Olympic style judo fighter. He's an awesome MMA fighter. You feel like they just in Japan, they just kind of throw you to the fire because you're like a legend in kickboxing?
No, I like I said, I was green just like when I started in Japan in K1. I was green. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about top end competition. I went from fighting in a smaller show, 1,000-seater to the top end, and I didn't mind that with working in Pride because all they asked me ever was, "Do you want to fight?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to." I wanted to. They were paying much better money, and I took advantage of that. So I wanted to go and fight in the Pride and see what this new competition was about. What this new sport was about, and it was like starting in K1. It was exciting because I liked, it was all new. I mean, I don't want to be to say like win the world title and keep repeating. I mean, I just wanted to win it and then move on to the next challenge.
When you look at your resume, it's like, holy crap. I mean, especially Pride, you fought like the best guys in Pride. Yoshida was great, and obviously, you lose that one, but that it was your debut. Then you go on and you defeat Wanderlei and Mirko Krokop, the two of all time big names there. Did you think like, wow, like this is a huge step up in competition for you, or you didn't care? You just wanted to fight, you wanted to make the most money, you wanted to become champion. You didn't care about necessarily the resume and who you were fighting, because you know what I mean. If your third, fourth fight, usually it's against guys you never heard of, or guys you're working up to, not main event level fighters already.
Well, in my mind, I've always thought in my mind I'm the greatest fighter ever. I don't care whether I'm starting here or here. In my mind, as a fighter, and if I wanted to sit at the top table, I'll always feel the greatest, like I'm the greatest. So it didn't matter what competition they put me against, because if my mindset says to me that I'm the greatest ever, you know, who are these guys that think differently? I mean, to try and change my mind process and thought. I mean, I feel as a fighter, every fighter has that sort of that thought in their mind that they have to be the greatest, to sit at the top table and eat every time, because it's hard to sit at the top table. You got to be ready to kill someone. You got to be willing to die, and that's what top end prize fighting I feel is all about. Yeah, I made a lot of bad decisions with business and not knowing about different things, but being green and raw, no one's there to tell you how to do these things. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't care about the competition. I always wanted to be the best and win the title in MMA. So, like I said, I was chasing another challenge.
Wanderlei and then Mirko. So I mean, you beaten Silva, you beat Mirko right off the bat. That was just like amazing. Pride just takes these guys that are legends in another sport. They put them in there, and the crowd loved you right away, right? I mean, they just ate it up. Especially you beating two legends right off the bat. Did the Japanese crowd really take to you because you were so good in kickboxing, or were they starting to love you in MMA too?
I don't know. I think what I think the Japanese fans loved about me is that I didn't really know. I wasn't really outspoken or loud. But when it came to fight, I was good at fighting. That was probably the difference. They probably thought I was a weird person. I didn't say much. I was kind of a chubby guy compared to all these other guys, and I could fight, and that's what I mean, that's probably why they did like me. So who knows?
You had the legendary chin too, obviously, and like I guess you could say that Samoan hard head. I guess you could say. I mean, it just seemed like your chin and your Japanese fighting spirit, which they love, that just kind of really made you a huge fan favorite. I feel like to the crowd over there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, why not? I mean, shucks. I mean, why wouldn't you like someone like that? He likes to
Yeah.
scrap and put out.
Where does that chin come from? Is that something like I always think about that? Like some guys have it, some guys don't. Is that like you're practicing stuff with your neck? Are you making sure or is that just your God gift? You're born with a miraculous chin. There, you could take a lot of damage.
I don't know, man. I feel it's not even about the chin. I mean, if you get hit with someone, sometimes it's the ones you don't even see that put you up. I feel there's like, it depends on that person's fighting spirit. I mean, it's like working in exercise. If you work at a certain level with exercise, you're used to that sort of work level and working in that zone. The harder you work, you're used to working in that zone. I mean, it's the same thing with the pain tolerance and affliction, like with the sport. I mean, some great fighters can take a lot of affliction, and pain. So it's just the way it is. I don't think it's a sometimes some people just were born to do this.
Yeah, you especially, kickboxing, boxing, MMA. I mean, you were
Yeah,
definitely born to do this. I feel like with like when Manhoof KO'd you, that was almost like you weren't expecting it, but then Mirko Krokop hit you. I feel like way harder with that kick that literally knocked guys out. For a week. I mean, he buried guys, and you absorbed that kick. What do you think was like the difference? You just weren't expecting it from Manhoof, and Krokop, you just like almost absorbed it. Other guys would have been out for a week.
yeah. The difference with that is like in every fighter, in their times in life, there's always things going on. Sometimes if a fighter goes into the octagon or ring with a clear mind, his focus is just on competing, then it's okay. But if they go in their mind clouded with they got problems here, problems everywhere, then you'll see a fighter that's going to lose. That's going to have a lot of issues. Anyone would have been able to beat me in those times, the lost streak in that time in Pride. I had a lot of issues outside. I mean, I doubt that Manhoef would ever get that again. I mean, he's actually quite lucky, but in the end, he is quite a strong person. But like I said, people have issues. Fighters have issues like everyone else. And that fight was the first time I ever got knocked out, I think. And I was in a lot of issues. I think it was like a 6-7 fight losing streak. So I was battling outside of the outside of the ring at that stage of my life.
And it was like a murderer's row of competition that they gave you. Josh Barnett, Fedor Emelianenko, Overeem, Musasi, Manhoof. I mean, it was crazy. Like they threw out the best guys. I mean, if you look at a resume, it's like, holy crap, Mark Hunt's resume is unbelievable with these guys.
A few good guys that deserve a good props in that lineup right there. The other ones are just cheaters. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You shouldn't give any of those guys that are cheating or caught cheating any sort of props. I mean, I think Fedor may be the only one that's Musashi may be the only one that deserves some good props, like I said. But in that line of fighters, life outside of the octagon or ring or whatever it was at the time, Mr. Hunt had issues.
When you look back at Shockwave 2006, which is obviously the big show before January 1st, I mean, it was like always the big show for Pride. You versus Fedor for the title for Pride. What did you think about that? Like, you're going up against Fedor, arguably the GOAT, and we could say probably he is heavyweight wise for sure. What do you think about Fedor, and what do you think about you fighting him for the title?
I like Fedor. I think he was a great fighter and a good person, a good man. I like I said, it was my shot at getting the title. I just wasn't well equipped enough with the ground stuff. Just like I said, I was in the a lot of times in their Pride career with those 7 losses. Had a lot of issues outside the ring. And your mind's clouded, like I said before. You got issues,
Yeah.
especially if you compete.
Obviously, he gets you down and taps you out. Like you said, you were just green. Did you not really work on submissions and stuff? Like, did you work on grappling a lot at that point, or not? Not
Well,
that really early on.
well, the thing is, you're talking about a white guy fighting black belts. So I went straight into the hot pool with, you
Yeah.
know, no ground at all, and not even a white belt, just starting MMA, even like with Yoshida and stuff. So it was a new sport, new challenge, and but like I said, to get to that point, I felt pretty good. We practiced a lot on defending submissions and things like that. And when it finally clicked, it was hard for them to try and do that again.
When you look at Fedor, what do you think about his retirement? Just retired about a month ago or so. What do you think about Fedor's retirement from MMA?
Well, I mean, everyone's going to retire sooner or later. We are no fighters. We think we can fight forever, but Father Time doesn't stop for nobody. End of the day, it is what it is. When it's time for you to retire, it's the time again. So it's up to you to know when to hang up the gloves. Like a lot of people feel they can fight fair. Like myself, I wanted to compete and continue, but it just wasn't meant to be. And the circumstances have it. My path was put in a different way. Instead of trying to be the world champion of UFC, I saw a different goal and said, "Oh wow, okay, so this is what my real purpose was." It wasn't about being the world's best fighter. It was trying to make things equal for fighters, or even these lawsuits. Because if it fucking wasn't going to be me that was going to do it, then who was going to do it? And if it wasn't then when?
Yep. With Fedor, did you happen to see the retirement fight at all? I mean, obviously he loses to Bader, but there was about 13 guys from the past. Like Dan Henderson was there, Chuck Liddell. It was almost like the end of an era where they all kind of were like, okay, he was the last one to kind of hang up the gloves, but they were all there, and they all came in the ring and they all took a picture together. The Gracies were there and everything else. I thought that was like a pretty cool moment because it was almost like Scott Coker saying, "Hey guys, this is like an end of an era. Let's show Fedor like the ultimate respect, and everybody will, kind of gather around him." It was really cool.
Oh well, I didn't actually see that. So but I saw a little of the shorts that he lost, and great fighter, great man. Like I said, he stood for what he wanted to do, and that was the bottom line.
When you went to UFC, was that just because they took your Pride contract and they owned it? Like, how did you get from? I know Pride obviously was gone, and UFC buys Pride, but is that exactly what happens? They absorb the contract.
Oh, you'll have to ask Dana White that. I'm not going to tell you. You have to ask Dana White that, buddy.
But you end up in UFC. So was that because like you wanted to be there, or you had to be there contractually? Like, did they take the Pride contracts?
Like I said, you have to ask Dana White that.
Oh, okay. With UFC, obviously, that is kind of when you start coming on a bit of a winning streak. Then you have that awesome walk-off KO against Stefan Struve. I mean, did you kind of find your groove when you got into UFC at first? Because some of those KOs were awesome and quite vicious.
Well, like I said, I actually thought the company was a great company at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they looked after us, but I didn't really, like I said, it took a while for me to realize what was really going on. That they were just taking advantage and exploiting these fighters and us exploiting us. And when I realized what was going on and I saw what was going on, I had to do something about it. I had to say something about it. And, that's like with me with everything. If I see something wrong, I'm going to try and say something about it or do something about it. I'm not going to sit there and just watch shit continue.
Right.
I had to do something about it, and that's what I did.
With your KO, when you do the KO, you knock the guy out like Struve and walk away without even is that what's the thought process there? Because to a fan, that's awesome because it's like the gunfighter that knows that he just killed the other gunfighter. You know what I mean? Like what's like the thought process and where did that come from? Because I don't remember if I've seen that before where you just knock a guy out and you're just like so confident that he's out, you just walk away.
It's probably just you just know. I think it's just experience. I think with fighting, you got to remember I have been competing as a fighter for 31 years.
Hmm.
In all different genres. To be honest, MMA was just the last one of. So, yeah.
It's just so cool. Like as a fan watching it, it's like, oh shit, he knows he knocked that guy out, and you walking off. It's like an ultimate moment. Like as like holy shit, like wow, that was amazing. And like the fighter knew how amazing it was that he just walks off, and the ref is kind of just stuck. Like because usually the ref has to like block you. He knows that you're already on the other side of the ring. So it's just really cool moment like to go back and watch those highlights and just see you knock out Struve or Congo or that guy Chris Tucher or whatever, and like kind of just walk off into the sunset.
Well, you probably won't see those moments in UFC anymore because they dislike me. So
They can't wipe you from the memory though, or YouTube or anything like that. They can't
that's
do that.
my fault. That's their fault for taking advantage of us fighters. That's not my fault that they do these things. So that's on them.
When you look at guys like that you fought in UFC, like Bigfoot Silva, I know you guys fought twice, and obviously you got the KO the second time. Do certain fights stick out to you more than others, and certain wins stick out to you more than others, as far as when you're getting big wins over these guys?
The only thing that sticks out to me is how crooked a lot of these fighters got away. All these shortcut takers did. How it ruined the fights. How all of them, how even now some of these guys can continue to fight, knowing they're taking shortcuts and cheating, and this company promoting it and allowing it to happen. I don't understand every other sport. It's frowned upon. Yet in this company, in this MMA sport, everyone looks, oh, that's great, you're a cheater. Oh, did they know that you were cheating, or was it you, USADA, and UFC together? I don't get it. There's no prestige. There's no integrity, and these guys just keep doing it. And like I said, for me, it just mars the sport. And I feel when someone dies, or if someone's going to die soon about it, what do you think is going to happen? And I actually feel it's premeditated murder. If they start juicing and then they go and fight, knowing they're going to go into a fight, because if they kill that person, that should be put in jail.
Like,
There shouldn't be, you're the greatest of all time for cheating. You should be put in jail for life because you've just killed someone. Or, it's been lucky that no one's ever died from it. I don't think anyone's died in MMA when someone's on the other side's been cheating. So imagine if the company knew about it. Why did even? Well, I didn't even understand why the public even support this shit. To be honest, they didn't support Lance Armstrong when they found out he was a crooked little rat.
right.
They got Jeff Novinsky, who works for the UFC, another fucking rat. The jump shipping a little rodent is now working for them, making sure they don't get caught. How does this even work? Shucks. So that's why there's no credibility in this title. They've got guys in their Hall of Fame. I don't know what's the fucking cheating Hall of Fame or what? What you going to call it? UFC Hall of Fame of cheaters or what?
Crazy, yeah. Anderson Silva's going to be inducted. He got caught, later on in his career. So,
Yeah, you got
and he
another one added to the list of cheaters.
and I'm not even sure when you fought Brock Lesnar, was he even in the USADA pool? Do you know that? Because he's a pro wrestler, really, but
Well,
did that fight.
he's the first person they let off on that waiver thing, Jig. I don't know what it's called. I was pretty much upset about that. I don't know why they gave him that waiver. It's I don't know about you, USADA, man.
So Lesnar, obviously, it got overturned to a no contest too. So obviously, he got popped, as well. Which I think you were kind of intimating that you kind of thought he would be. Let's protect the guys that we think that they may be cheating.
Well, I mean, like I said, every fight I go to, I don't assume they're cheating. I think they're always going to be straight and do the right thing, because there's laws, there's contracts that say you don't use steroids or else. The problem is they don't enforce none of their punishments. The UFC do not enforce their punishments. They just put it out there saying, "Oh, we've got the best testing policies. We've got this and that." So why don't they enforce all their policies? Why don't they punish these guys? These guys don't care. They just keep going. Oh no, I'll get a couple of years off and get a money fine. They'll just keep going, And then soon, like I said, sooner or later someone's going to get killed. And then would it be the same thing as that? Would they get a fine and time off competing if they killed someone? If they're using steroids, would that be the same thing?
Yeah,
Would we
crazy
say,
to think about it. Yeah.
we're going to give you a 2 year off, and we're going to give you a fine? It's a criminal. It's criminal. They should be going to jail.
Looking at just some of the more positive side of your time there, because some of their knockouts there are just like unforgettable. Roy Nelson, he knocked out Frank Mir.
There's no There's no positive.
No,
There's no positive,
not,
especially when you got this. How can it be positive when when the only thing that put me in the sport is in a lawsuit? They forced my hand to say, oh, I'm going to have to change that. Can you, because like I said, the only thing I said to Dana was, can you put a clause in my contract? If you want me to compete again, can you put a clause in my contract? So the guys that I fight, if they get caught cheating, they don't get no money. So they give me a guy named Josh Barnett, and I already know because he's been caught before. And I said, I don't want to fight this guy. Can you put the clause in my contract? They said, no. So then he popped 3 days later, and I started laughing. I was like, yeah, bunch of grubs. And then they give me this. Then they said, okay, look, a couple of weeks later, they said, okay, he got popped. We want you to fight this guy named Alistair Overeem. I said, what? I said, I want a clause in my contract. That clause in my contract. Don't give me the money. Don't give. Take it. Don't even take it off them. They give him nothing because he's caught cheating. But they send me a letter saying if I don't fight this guy, they're gonna fire me. What? You're gonna fire me for what? For not doing my job? I said he's a cheater. He's been caught before. I don't want to fight this guy. Put a clause in my contract. We don't do that. So they send me a letter of firing me, and then I put a lawsuit on them. So how was that? How was it be any times of me being happy working for this company up until that point? It's like, oh, okay, so now I know what's going on. You guys are just grubs, and look how we're treated. So you're talking about good times. The only time is good time is when they change their ways, they change their crooked ways of cheating people, and allowing these steroid users and promoting these guys to get ahead.
I was just
the
looking
Hall
at.
of Fame is fucking full of fucking cheating shortcut takers. So how the hell is that a Hall of Fame? Should be the Hall of Cheaters.
Yeah. I was just looking at some of your awesome knockouts. You know what I mean? Like knocking out Mir or Roy Nelson, who also was known as having, really hard chin. Another guy who's really hard to knock out. And I don't know, you have no problem knocking some of these guys out. Just your style, just the way you
I got a
fought.
big problem. There's a knockout I want to get, but it's a big issue.
Yeah. But to me, just your style of fighting, just the way you would KO guys, the ferocity, the fighting spirit just was always kind of with you and always made you like one of the most enjoyable fighters. And I think it was just because, I don't know, just tenacity, just the way you fought, just you being a killer. I don't know what it is, but you had that it factor to me that made you one of the most exciting fighters to watch.
Yeah, well, maybe we can change things with these lawsuits. Forget about the fighting because it doesn't mean nothing. Their wins or anything doesn't mean nothing if their guys are cheating. It's just mad. So how about we get to the real issue, which is trying to make this UFC change their fucking shitty ways of corruption and promoting these steroid users and cheating everyone.
What do you have to do though? Do you have to get Dana out of UFC? I mean, like who's the main issue? Who's the culprit? How do you do that?
Well, you file lawsuits against these guys. What else can you do? You can't do anything. You can't just sit here and talk about it.
Right.
You can't hear so like what are you doing talking about it? Like these guys, Jake Paul and that, all they're doing is just talking. Do something fucking about it.
Did you ever think about totally off topic from MMA and fighting and boxing? Did you ever think about becoming a pro wrestler? I know you did some pro wrestling in Japan with the Hustle organization, but did you ever think about that? I feel like you'd be a perfect pro wrestler. Did any thought into that?
I did some pro wrestling in Japan, but I've always been doing fighting proper. I kind of I enjoyed the pro wrestling. I have no issues with the pro wrestling for sure. I know it's not real. It's made up. It's kind of fun, to be honest. But yeah, like I said, I've done it before, and I have got no qualms with it about that. It's entertainment. They can use all the steroids they fucking want, to be honest. So it's got nothing to do with real competition.
Did you ever think about doing it like full time or anything, or that really wasn't your thing? You wanted real competition.
It was like I said, I did some of it in Japan, and that's about it. So my goals were trying to be the best MMA fighter in the world. I just never got there in the end. I come up against some steroid cheaters, and the other times I did win, it still put a no contest on my record, which wasn't good. So In the end of the day, that's where it sits. Like I said, it's a sad feeling. MMA, the sport's marred to me because of this company and the way they do things with these fighters, and how they take advantage of these fighters with pay and everything.
When you look back at K1 and your kickboxing, obviously K1 champion, did you enjoy kickboxing more just because, all the kind of negative stuff talking about MMA? Did you, like, looking back, did you enjoy kickboxing more? Was that like a better time in your career?
Well, I mean, I knew when I went into the K1 kickboxing, I was like, this is. I was fresh, I was green, I was new to it, so it was good for me. I was like, it was like exploring. It was the first time out, going out at night times, to be honest, or thinking like that. You're like, oh shit, okay, this is exciting. You didn't know this and that. To be honest, it's just it was a high adventure for me. It was good times. MMA was the same when it started. Um, but as you get along to things, you start realizing and seeing things. You're like, oh shit. Then you realize what's really at hand here. What's really going on here, and you're like, oh shit. Then you have to do something about it. You either do something, or you just be quiet and just be like everyone else and just toe the line, man. That's what it is.
Now, as we wind it down here, we'll head towards the finish. Do you have a favorite moment, like as far as just like a KO, favorite win? Do you have a favorite like part of your career? Maybe K1, or would it be, a knockout you had, whether in Pride or wherever? Any like positives as far as wins you had in your career, or anything that sticks out, like maybe beating Labana a few times? Anything else stick out to you from your time in either K1 or Pride or UFC?
Um, I, to be honest, the only thing that sticks out for me about competing is the lawsuit that I'm in against the UFC. It's been hard to try and take any positivity out of a fighting career over 31 years when you end up in a lawsuit against billionaires, you know, and the truth that what you're speaking is the truth, and yet this company just got their shitty media just to make you look bad, and you think, I mean, what sport does that?
Yeah, trying to make their
I mean,
guys. Yeah.
they're trying to continue.
I was gonna say trying to make their guys look bad in a certain light. Yeah.
They're guys, what guys? I mean, the
Like they're
UFC
former
guys.
fighters. Yeah, like they're former fighters. So they're trying to make their
Well, I
former
think
fighters.
anyone that speaks out about what they're doing, they do. You know, but the truth is people need to see the truth, and that's the problem. You know, so like I said, any good moments I've ever had with competing in martial arts has been marred by this lawsuit that I'm sitting in here trying to make change.
Even the K1, you can't kind of go back and think about some big victories you had over like Gary
And,
Goodrich or Lefo or I mean Bernardo. You beat some pretty big names in K1.
like I said, competing at the top end, knowing you're thinking in your heart, your mind, you're the best fighter, to come after 31 years or while to compete and then end up suing a company because you feel they need to make changes for themselves because they don't care. They have policies and laws that they didn't even stick by and abide by. So why should anyone else? They make one rule and said, "Well, we make the rules. You guys listen to the rules, but we'll change it when we want to." Money, all about money.
Outside of the lawsuit, what's coming up next for you? Are you doing? I know you did a show with The Voice, Michael Chavelli. You did like a live show. What else are you kind of been up to? What's next?
I'm just chilling. I'm spending a lot more time with the kids, trying to get back to the gym. Yeah, there's a lot of shit. I'm just chilling out. I'm not doing much at all. I mean, I'm trying to stay healthy, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of gaming, a lot of gaming. They've got CS:GO 2 coming out now. I don't know why I didn't get invited. Gaben's a fucking prick. Anyway, yeah, just chilling up, getting to spend a lot more time with the kids, which is good. And
What
like I said, this lawsuit is just can't go anywhere without fucking unless this lawsuit's done. So I think it should be done in the next couple of months. Well, my personal lawsuit is I don't know how long the class action lawsuit is going to take. With Kung Lee and the rest of them, I think that's been going 8 years. Mine's been going 7. So these guys have got billions of dollars, man. And to make change, man, shucks, it's they're throwing everything at it. I don't think they want to make changes. That's why they didn't even bother with the Ngannou. They just said, here's our offer. And then they said, we're not going to give you anything like what you're asking for. Why? It's just standard stuff.
And he could go to boxing and make double that. You know what I mean, or triple if he gets a big fight in boxing. So screw them in a certain way.
Oh, that's with the stuff he asked for were they're quite normal things to ask for. He didn't ask but I think it's trying to change their model. That's what it is, and they didn't want to do it.
And
the only
also,
way to is lawsuits. The only way to and they're going to get plenty. They're probably in plenty of them right now.
And also, at the end of the contract, they try to match you, so you almost get stuck with them for longer than the contract is. Yeah.
When I was competing for them, they had that same contract, that clause. Probably they changed it to make it. They had that when I was working for them. Their contracts now, because they're getting probably more lawsuits, are a lot more tighter. They probably got you probably got zero way to get out. So anyone that signs with them, you're in a hole and you can't get out of that hole. They got no shovel for you, man. You can't even jump on part of this class action lawsuit that I was told. So they've seen all these other lawsuits come to them, so they've just made the contracts even worse. So anyone that signs with this company, they're just done. See you later.
Yeah.
There goes the career.
When you look back, though, at your career, what's the legacy or the stamp? Or so, if somebody says Mark Hunt or Marco Hunto, the Super Samoan K1 champion, what do you think is the legacy? Just to the fighting career, like when people say your name or they look back at you, how do you think you'll be remembered?
I don't, because for me, fighting is saved my life. It's marred by these that I had to put a lawsuit to make change, and for me, I hope my legacy will be as soon as people say, oh, Mark, he's the one that started to make change or wanted to make change for this company or MMA, to be honest, with the steroids and just to make changes for these fighters. You know what I mean? Just to make it an even playing field. Like I said, people say, when this started, they were calling me it was for a money grab, this and that. I'm thinking, what? If that was the case, I would have just stayed with the UFC, kept quiet and got more contracts and finished my career with them. But, I saw a problem and then, I had to say something about it. It was, at whatever cost it was, and this is what, hopefully these lawsuits change, make changes for MMA, especially on the steroid and cheating side, because like I said, if someone dies and gets killed, would they get the same things that like they get now with USADA? Would they give them if someone killed someone that was on steroids in the year, would they give them a fine and give them time off, or should this person go to jail? It's I can see clearly what I can see. It should be murder, premeditated murder, and they should be going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a good point on that. Before we let you go, where can everybody find you, social media wise, otherwise? Like, how can everybody get in touch with if they want to keep up with the Super Samoan?
I don't really want it that. I got off social media. My other Instagram got banned, probably because of all the UFC bots reporting me and abusing me, my page. I've still got social media on Facebook. I wanted to just fall off the map and relax. But I had a boxing fight, so I've got Instagram. I started
Your Instagram? Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, cut out. Yeah, I've still got Instagram and Facebook. I just I don't really post that much shit on there anymore. I just because I'm just chilling out now. So yeah.
Well, Mark, to me, one of the all-time greats. I love you. I love watching your fights. Hey, I'll go on YouTube if their UFC's not promoting it, I don't care. I'll go on YouTube and promote it and watch those fights. You knocking out Frank Mir was awesome. Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Congo, all those guys. I love rewatching your fights and one of the best. I mean, your fighting spirit was awesome. I'm a huge fan of yours. I just love watching your old fights and stuff. You just
appreciate that. Yeah, you
probably
not see my name up there again because UFC just trying to put me into the darkness there. So, but like I said, I didn't just talk about it. I put a lawsuit on to try and make things even. And that's it. I didn't realize what kind of battle this is about, but it's massive, and hopefully things change with these lawsuits for these fighters coming through, so they don't have to deal with the same shit I did. And this company taking advantage of them. So who knows? Only God knows what happens in the future with everything. So yeah.
All right, Mark.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you
time,
so
anyway. I
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Take it easy. See ya.